Hey, Michael Leckie here, back with the What's the Question series, where we take some of the questions from my book, The Heart of Transformation. We look at these questions that are designed to help move an organization forward through change and look at how they may have been applied or could have been applied in situations that are happening, in the world today. So the one I want to take a look at real quick is what's happened with politics and the question around abortion in the United States. Now, this has been contentious for a long time, but it's been really interesting in that it's been a fight that really only had one side fighting because the other side had, established law for 50 years, law that, they were reassured with the new justices coming in was not going to change. And there seemed to be no reason for it to change, no precedent, even though there are people that didn't like it. The question that I want to talk about is from the pathfinding before path following section of the book. And that section of the book is about how important it is to be equipped with the questions and the tools and the behaviors to find our paths forward, as opposed to just wait for someone to give it to us and to, walk down that road, because sometimes just following the plan, just following the map can go awry, and we need to be able to adjust our steps along the way. And the question, can we discuss our differences, is what I call the permission question. And that means that people are going to have different views of where the path should be going, and we have to be able to have a conversation about that. Even if we maintain our views, we have to be able to talk about it. We have to be able to look for where is there common ground between the different directions we may want to go. What are we going to have to do to accommodate, etc. Now, this is the question of abortion in the United States, that has not had a can we discuss our differences conversation, I don't know if ever. And what has happened is that over time, with one side being very, content that they had the law on their side, the other side has been chipping away at that any way that they can. And a lot of that through the judges that were being put in place and different things they're doing in the judicial system, regardless of, kind of what the overall popular vote of the United States population was. Long story short, I won't give you a civics course in politics, but we come to this point where Roe versus Wade, the statute that, permitted abortion, was overturned by the Supreme Court. And this was considered a huge, huge, huge victory for the opponents of abortion as something that's legally available in the United States. How that's played out has been very, very interesting, and I don't think quite like they expected. First of all, there were states they were expected that would immediately say, yep, now that we've got the right to say no to this, we're going to say no. And they didn't. Their populations went the other direction. There have been a tremendous amount of challenges to the now patchwork quilt of laws that have popped up or been, resurrected literally from the 18 or 1900s to deal with the question, because it's been settled for so long, which makes it very confusing. But the last thing is it has galvanized a portion of the population that, statistically speaking, is the larger portion of the population in the United States that believes in what they would call reproductive rights or reproductive freedom. And so it is driving a massive shift in what was expected and could historically been expected in our midterm elections, which would be, since there was a Democratic president and a Democratic, at least Senate, 50-50 Senate and House of Representatives, we could expect what they refer to as a bit of a red wave, which means the Republicans were going to come into power in, either the House or the Senate or both, and have this kind of bifurcated system, which is usually what happens and what the polls were saying. Now, we're still a ways away from the midterm elections, and if I could predict elections, Lord knows I'd be very, very wealthy and not sitting here just having these conversations. I'd be flying around somewhere, I'm sure. But the fact of the matter is I can't. But I do believe that we are seeing a real trend that's going to be very interesting of people voting in more and more Democrats they believe support an agenda that they have. So what could actually happen because of the overturning of Roe versus Wade in the Supreme Court is we could elect a government that actually has the ability and the power to go ahead and enshrine it in the Constitution, make it federal law, and actually even firm up that right stronger than it was, which lasted for the last 50 years. It could also see a slew of other things happening that potentially people who are oriented with a party that is against abortion might not want to see happen either, because of the Democratic agenda moving in an entirely different direction. So all that to say, if we'd just been able to have a dialogue about this, which we haven't had for, decades, we might have been able to find some common ground, because it is some of the extreme aspects of these laws that are really bothering people, that people could be forced to carry a child that's not feasible, that won't survive, that may, endanger the life of the mother to full term. And so since we couldn't have a dialogue, we kind of restricted ourselves to positions, one that we felt was locked in, one that was rather extreme. And now that win is turning into a loss. or at least it could be. Again, when we are moving down a road, when we're trying to move forward and change and evolve, we have to be talking to each other, even if we disagree, because we can find ourselves with really unintended consequences if we can't discuss our differences. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.